what's up, all of you beautiful subscribers? Welcome back to the Chapple Show, where we talk about business and stock market news and a bunch of other news that I like to talk about. And today was not a good day in the stock market, to say the very least. This was one of the worst days this entire year. I think it's the worst day in roughly 1 month for the market as a whole. And, you know, as we can see here, the Dow Jones down 1.12%, NASDAQ down 1.08%, S&P 500 down 0.9%. So just not a good day in general here. We're going to talk about some stock market winners and losers as we go on here. But so if you were to just look at these indexes on a grand scale, you'd say that, oh, this could be a little bit worrisome. This could be a little bit a sign of a bigger trend here, that maybe a correction could be coming. I'll talk about that in a second here. But this is pretty much what the media is kind of portraying it as. So this market, this article here says, you know, markets are getting clobbered. Dow Jones down 220 points. You know, feared that there's a war coming on with North Korea. Hurricanes are hitting. This is just not a good time. And so what's my opinion on this? I think that, you know, here, let's just take a look at the Dow Jones here, down 1%. Is this a sign that this is going to continue into the future, into the next 2 weeks, into the next month? Is there going to be a crash? Let's just take a look here on the macro scale here. So, again, a bad day, down 1.12% the Dow Jones. Let's take a look at the 5-day chart. At the 5-day chart, the Dow Jones still has a gain of 0.2%. Let's even backtrack a little bit further here. Let's backtrack even 1 year. And you take a look at this. This is this little dip of 1%. I mean, it's almost nothing. So what do I expect from this? Today was just a bad day. It's not going to be a sign of a big trend, I don't think. I do, again, as I always say, I have to preface this always, that, you know, again, I expect a correction coming in the next year and a half or so. I don't think it's right now. And so I think that this is just a little bit of fear coming. I mean, I was looking at some stocks, and apparently a lot of the index stocks in North America that track Korean stocks, South Korean stocks, obviously North Korean stocks. No, they track South Korean stocks. They're all down, getting clobbered by like 4% today. A lot of insurance companies are getting clobbered today because of Hurricane Irma, which just got upgraded to Category 5. That's very unfortunate. And Hurricane Harvey, lots of devastation. So a lot of those stocks are dropping off here. And again, yeah, just general fear that a war is going to break out with North Korea. So volatility is way up today. It's spiked today like 4 or 5%. So anyways, what do I expect from this? I mean, not much. This is just a temporary blip, I think. However, I do think that there's a correction coming. I just don't know when it's happening. But again, if you were to just take a step back here, look at the 1-year trend, or the 6-month trend of these big indexes, this 1% doesn't even show up on the map. It's just, there's been days worse than this over the past year. So again, S&P 500, exact same thing. S&P 500 has had much worse days, to be honest. So that's my opinion on that. What do you guys think? How did you guys do today? I mean, everything's getting clobbered. You know what? Should we just jump right into some of the stock market winners and losers? Let's do that while we're talking about this. So some of the big market movers: TripAdvisor up 4%, Seagate Technology up 3.1%. Anything, Campbell's Soup up 2.3%, Under Armour up 2.3%, Target up 1.9%, Walmart up 1.9%. So it's good to see those big retailers doing well. What's down today? Everest Group down 7%, XL Group down 6%, United Technologies down 5.6%, Royal Caribbean Cruise down 4.4%, Viacom down 4.1%, and Qualcomm down 3.9%. Now, how are the big stocks doing that you guys like to hear about? The most popular ones. So Amazon down 1.49%, Google down 1.3%. Let's see what else is notable here. Tesla down 1.65%. Nvidia down 2.75%. So again, it's not like there's been any one stock that's fell off the face of the earth today. It's just everything's doing a little bit worse. That's how it is. Everything's doing a little bit worse today. People are, I mean, I saw a headline saying that a massive sell-off starts today. I just don't think that that's the case. So what do you guys think? How did you guys do today? You guys probably lost money. I mean, I track a lot of stocks, and like almost all of them are down today. I mean, almost everything's in the red today. There's only a handful that are actually doing well today. One of them is actually Snapchat, which is funny. Funny enough. So anyways, how'd you guys do today? Let me know in the comments down below. So, you know, let's jump ahead to the next thing I actually want to talk about. I mean, it's a little bit of business here. So I stumbled upon this article. It's actually a video I want to talk about here. So I stumbled upon this article from, I think this is TechCrunch. Yeah. It says Lilium raises $90 million Series B for all-electric flying taxi. Okay, so I was like, wait a second here. Flying taxi, like, okay, there, we don't have that kind of, we might have the technology, but I don't think it's a scalable technology. I don't think it's going to work kind of thing. Like, I haven't seen anything like this before. Series B means that they must be pretty close to actually launching as a full-on company. So I was like, okay, let's take a look at this here. So let's just watch this video here, and I'll commentate for all of you listening podcast form. I'll talk about it after. Anyways, here's the video. I'll kind of half commentate. It says the first day of the flight. I was like, okay, we'll see what this is. This thing takes off vertically.
An airplane that takes off vertically, like a helicopter.
So he said the exact same thing. This thing looks like it's hovering from the ground and no moving parts, no propeller.
But once it's in the air, it accelerates into forward flight and flies with wing-borne lift.
I mean, this is actually amazing.
And this way it achieves much higher speeds than cars, but also higher speeds than a helicopter.
Apparently top speed of 300 kilometers an hour, it says here. This thing flies, looks smoothly.
Connectivity is what it's all about.
Can fly 300 kilometers range. It's electric too. How, like, looking at that thing, it doesn't look like it's a flying machine. It looks like it's hovering. Seriously, go look at this. It's from Lilium, the Lilium jet, the world's first all-electric VTOL jet. Go look it up if you are in podcast form. This is, I mean, it doesn't look real, to be honest. And even as I was watching this video the first time, I was like, is this some CGI stuff when it took off vertically without it looking like there's anything moving? Let's look at this again. Like, look at that.
So you have
that's unbelievable. So I mean, I'm just excited for this. Seeing an actual flying machine that is small and looks like it could be a scalable company. I mean, it's cool. It's obviously not going to be for everyday consumers, but for rich people to start off with. And you know, if you can put some wheels on this thing and make it an actual convertible to a car, then there you go. Is it actually? No, because it takes off vertically, lands vertically, right? So anyways, this is a legitimate, I'm talking a legitimate flying car solution here. Sure, you cannot travel on roads with it, but this thing looks simple enough where eventually in the future I could see average people driving like this. All right, now I don't think that it's going to be good if millions of people fly these things, because the airway's going to be crowded and stuff. There's going to be lots of liability, but this is really, really cool. I've never seen anything like this before, and I had to talk about it today. So anyways, that is the Lilium jet. So thank you, TechCrunch, for making me aware of that. I'll be extremely jealous for when rich people that I know have these things and fly these things as taxis or whatever. So anyways, we are going to move on to the next thing. I want to talk about some big news, which is there's an article here. Restaurateur buying Houston Rockets for $2.2 billion in record deal. So Houston Rockets are an NBA team. They actually are supposed to do really well this year. They have James Harden and Chris Paul. They just got Chris Paul this year, and they're probably going to be a very good team this year. We'll see what happens. But what's funny is that here's what I wanted to take from this article. A few things, but they say restaurateur, and his name's Tilman Fertitta. And usually when someone buys a sports team, they'll say, like, you know, restaurateur or entrepreneur or whatever, and then they'll list the company that they own or work for or whatever, and how they earned their money. But the trouble is that with this guy, yeah, he owns one company, but the reason why he owns a company called Landry's Inc. Okay, he owns a company called Landry's Inc. Why you probably haven't heard of this is because it's not like they own one giant chain of restaurants or one giant chain of hotels or casinos. It's because they own a lot of smaller ones that don't have the name Landry's in it, which is really interesting. This is kind of like the Warren Buffett Berkshire Hathaway. Like Berkshire Hathaway, they just own larger. Berkshire Hathaway is kind of like a larger version of what Landry's is, in my opinion. Obviously, there's going to be a little differences here, but like Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway owns like Dairy Queen and Geico and all those companies that are much bigger. Tillman's just owns a bunch of, small, whatever, seafood places, a bunch of hotels, a few casinos, like the Golden Nugget Lake Charles Hotel, is that one? A bunch of small, like casinos, bunch of smaller entertainment places. They are largely in Texas, a lot of these places, and so that's why I just thought it was interesting, because it was like this one guy's a billionaire from owning smaller businesses, which is really, really cool. So he's buying the Houston Rockets, and I think that this is kind of the dream of any, typical guy who becomes a billionaire. It's to own a sports team. It's not, the sports team's not going to make you tons of money. It's just the fact that you get to own a sports team, and that's kind of like a cool status symbol. And, like Mark Cuban owns the Dallas Mavericks. I'd like to own a sports team one day. I think I'd like to own a basketball team one day, but baseball's probably the only one that I'd be able to afford in my lifetime, because again, like the NBA team prices, they're skyrocketing. I mean, 2 decades ago, the average NBA team price was just $200-300 million. Now it's closer to over $1 billion now for the average NBA team. And so baseball's the one sport here where where a lot of lower end teams are just over $100 million. You could probably buy them for, or a few $100 million. So anyways, what do you guys think about that, about buying sports teams? I mean, it's a terrible investment, I think, personally, although saying that the past 2 decades, it's proved me wrong. All the values of every team has gone up hundreds of millions of dollars. So you're not buying a sports team for its cash flow, is what I will say. The value of the team might go up over time, but the cash flow is probably not going to be there. So let's move on to the next thing I want to talk about. Was this article here. 26-year-old who banked $100,000 shares the key to saving half of your income. And so it's kind of funny is that he, here's a few tips here in this video here quickly. He started with a clear goal in mind. He doesn't give a lot of specific tips, to be honest, here in the article, but the video kind of does. So he cut his costs. He moved in with others, so he shared an apartment instead of having his own. He biked instead of driving. He packed a lunch for work every day and cooked and hosted others instead of going out, and spent time on free activities or cheap ones instead of expensive ones. He automated his savings and tracked his monthly net worth. All right, so those are his tips here. Now, the article goes on to say here it's not like one little change, like cutting out that $5 latte every day is going to change your life, but doing that on top of doing other things like living with others, that's a big one too. So instead of having a $1,000 apartment on your own or $1,500 apartment on your own, share a place with others and spend $600 a month. So there's a savings there of minimum $400 by doing that. Biking to work instead of driving save you a few dollars in gas every single day. And it just depends, again, but that's not realistic for a lot of people that don't live in cities, right? I mean, like me, my drive to work takes roughly, 5 or 10, it probably takes, depending on the day, 5 or 10 minutes and what time I leave, 5 or 10 minute drive. I go, 5K, 10K. And the other thing too is that, there's not a lot of good roads for bikers. I mean, the best way to get here is using the highway. And I mean, there's not a lot of bike lanes or sidewalks or anything. So a bike is a solution if you're living in a city with bike lanes, I guess. But if you're living in a rural area, or you're commuting for more than a 10-minute drive, I mean, that's tough. I mean, I could probably bike to work every day, but it's going to take me an hour or so to find a good path, a good safe path, and all that too. So I don't know. These tips, I mean, this is a good one though, but here's where I had a problem with it, is that he wants to retire right now with $100,000 in the bank. So, I mean, good luck. He wants to stretch out his savings into a 30-year, 40-year retirement thing. So that's on average a few $1,000s a year. So good luck with that, buddy. Hopefully, I mean, this is just kind of like the typical minimalist society movement that's going along right now. Now, I agree with a lot of it in terms of like money doesn't completely make you happy. I mean, if you're rich and you haven't found what makes you happy, you're going to be unhappy with money. But I think that when you pursue wealth, when you pursue, growing a company, when you pursue gaining money in a way which is fun and is creative in a way that makes you set goals and reach those goals all the time, that's what makes you happy. All right. And the money, the comfort that comes along with that later also makes you happy too. And so if you were to just get $1 billion today and you weren't happy before, you don't know what makes you happy before, and you think that once you have this money, you're going to be happy, it'll make you comfortable. Is it going to make you happy? It might give you, here's what money can do is it can give you more opportunities for you to be happy. So if you want to start a company, but you don't have any money, obviously there's ways to get around that, but you have zero money, you want to start a company requires $100,000 in capital, you can't get it from a bank. that's the situation where, you know, money can probably make you happy in a lot of cases. You get to start, but like for me, one of the things that people close to me, what they always say about me is that like how I don't get sad. It's just not in me to get sad. I'm always looking for the next thing. I'm always happy. Sure, I'm stressed out more than them, but I don't really show it too much. I'm stressed out more, but I'm a lot happier. I don't have sad. I don't have that sad emotion in me because I wake up every day and I know what I want to do. I know what I have to get done, and it's, you know, when you're busy all the time, it's kind of like a distraction from all the bad stuff in your life. When you're busy all the time and it's a busy thing where you have complete control over it and you know what you want to do, I mean, that's what makes you happy. You're not going to be happy sitting on your ass, despite what you may think. You know, people think that if you have $1 billion and you sit on your ass all day and you are in a hammock on a beach somewhere, you're probably not going to, it might be nice for a few weeks to take some time off, but you're not going to be happy in the long run. That's just what, you can't do that for more than a few weeks and really enjoy it. Sure, unless, you know, there's a few scenarios. If you're like 65 years old and you've worked really hard and you just kind of want to sit on your ass for like a few months, 6 months, a year, sure, you know, maybe, you know, situations like that, you can probably go a long period of time with a lot of money and be fine, right, and be happy. But anyways, that's my opinion on that. What do you guys think about this and this minimalist stuff? I think that a lot of it's good. I kind of skipped over that. A lot of it's good in terms of like pushing, you don't need material stuff to make you happy. However, like a lot of the stuff might actually make you unhappy, like living with others. Sure, that's minimalist, but that's actually something which proven to not make you happy. Living with other people that aren't your family. I mean, if you have a wife with kids, odds are you're going to be happy, or relatively happy compared to just living by yourself, right? But if you're living with 5 other people and partying all the time, you have to get up for work, I mean, all the problems that come along with the roommates, you're probably not going to be as happy as if you are with people that are in your direct family or on your own. It also depends on who you are. Maybe you're an extrovert and you're with friends and you like to party all the time. Living with others is probably going to be good. But if you're watching this channel, you're an entrepreneur, you like money, investing on your own, all that kind of stuff, you are probably more of an introvert than an extrovert. So I don't know. What do you guys think of all that? Let me know in the comments down below. What do you think of minimalism? So we're going to talk about the next story here. Look at this urgent alert. Breaking news. The market tumbles as the Dow Jones closes more than 200 points lower than it opened. Yeah, thanks for that. Okay, so this next article I want to talk about is Alibaba. This is funny. This is a backwards kind of story here. Alibaba reportedly set to open its first physical mall in China, which I think is kind of funny because this is the exact opposite of what you'd expect from Alibaba. Alibaba, most profitable online e-commerce company in terms of margins in the world, has almost as much value as Amazon with 1/5 the revenue, as we've talked about in previous videos. And they're set to open a physical mall, so upping their expenses. I don't really know why they're doing this. I think that maybe because maybe real estate might be cheap in wherever they're opening it right now because they're killing retail. That's my theory. Maybe they just want a physical location. They're going to do it well, like Apple stores. Apple stores are the highest profit margin per square foot physical location in the world. Apple. All right, it's not some random shoe company. It's Apple, the tech company, makes more money per square foot than any other retailer in the world. Interesting, right? So maybe Alibaba's going to be successful, and we'll see. But the mall is being constructed on a 40,000 square meter plot of land. I don't even know if they're going to have sub-stores in it or not. I have no idea. And this is really interesting. So what do you guys think of this? They're kind of going a backwards route. Obviously, if they're doing this, if Jack Ma's doing this, I do trust that what they're doing is going to work. But this really doesn't have any sort of precedence. Is that the word? Like this isn't something we've seen from the last 20 years of all these internet companies opening up their own giant retail location. We've seen Apple stores are small. Apple stores, apart from a few in New York and I think one's big in LA, but most of them are fairly small stores for the most part. And so this is a giant mall that's being opened. You're pretty much opening up a place which you've been killing for the past 2 decades, which is quite interesting. So We're going to see how that pans out. Pans out? Anyways, I just want to mention this here. Grant Cardone wrote an article here about universal basic income, and I just wanted to mention one line from this. Is so, he kind of says, what does basic income get you? It gets you a basic life, and is that what you want? Now, that is a kind of a more of a harsh way, because a lot of people are like, well, I kind of want a basic life and all that stuff too, right? So my thoughts on universal basic income. I think that if people you were giving money to were financially educated, then I'm totally cool with it. I do think that it's not a good use of dollars. For the most part, it's being trialed in Ontario. I don't think it's going to work out here because people are bad with money. If you making 25 grand a year, if you're making 30 grand a year, you're eligible for this income, 30 grand or less. So if you're making 30 grand and you're living paycheck to paycheck and your expenses are $29,000, $990 a year, and you get $10,000 in universal basic income from taxpayers, what's usually happens is your expenses go up to $39,990 when your income goes up to $40,000. And that's just what happens with people. People seem to find ways to upgrade their expenses when they get stuff like this. Now, there's always people that do good stuff with this too. I mean, if you were to get universal basic income and you're a single mother struggling to get by, a lot of the times that's good. I mean, your kids all of a sudden can have, instead of having shoes that have giant holes in them when playing basketball, you can give them a nice new pair of shoes. All right, this is, instead of having craft dinner 6 days a week for a struggling young adult in New York or whatever, all of a sudden maybe you can get some vegetables in you, right? That's there's people that actually use that money well, but for the most part, like, there was one universal basic income pilot that happened in like Manitoba or Alberta or somewhere along those lines. It was a couple of years, and like people were buying like trucks, people that were struggling to get by, who that's the reason why they got the basic income, because they were struggling to get by. People were buying like trucks that they didn't need. They had a car that was working fine, and they would go buy expensive trucks that they couldn't afford. And that's just how people are with money. So I talked about that. Now let's talk again what the line here. So what does basic income get you? A basic life, and is that what you want? And this is what separates a lot of big entrepreneurs from average people. I talk about this so much about how, like me, I never wanted a basic life. I don't want one, and that's one of the reasons why I'm doing what I'm doing now. I'm trying to build this startup and get it going, and I want to live. I mean, one of the biggest disagreements I had with one of my ex-girlfriends was because they wanted a basic life. They wanted a basic 9-to-5 life, and they wanted, future husband to be home at 9 to 5. I wasn't about that. I'd be like, I'd prefer to be an Uber driver than to work for someone else. And I was serious about that. And that's just, so many people do want a basic 9-to-5 life, and that life is kind of dying too, by the way. I mean, I've mentioned a lot of this stuff before, but how, the 9-to-5 life was an invention that happened in the 1920s, but the previous few thousand years that came before that, humans were not meant for a 9-to-5 life. Humans were meant for a more always kind of passively working kind of life, like I kind of do now. Just always kind of doing a little bit of something, and, sure, you can take a day off here whenever you want to kind of deal. That's how humans were. I mean, you used to have to, my grandma always used to talk about going to the market and having to sell or buy stuff while going to the market, and you didn't have to go every day. I mean, you could take off a Wednesday of selling stuff or to the market. They would grow the food and then sell it to the market or sell it at the market. And you didn't have to go every day. You had to go most days, but you didn't have to go every day. If you were sick on Wednesday, you could go take Wednesday off. If you want to take Sunday off, you could. But for the most part, you'd kind of work every day. You'd work almost 7 days a week. And that's how it was, and that's how the economy's kind of turning into again. This was kind of ruined by the factory industrialization stuff, and now we got a lot of people that are angry that they can't have that life anymore. Well, your options are either develop more skills, start your own company, become self-employed, or you are probably going to be struggling to get by on a basic income for the rest of your life. And so, though, the people that want that basic 9-to-5 life, making 30 grand a year and want to be comfortable, I mean, it's just tough, because a lot of them are good people, and a lot of them just want to just kind of do the same thing every day and don't want to get replaced by robots. So there's a few different opinions on that. But yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think about all this stuff? Basic income. You guys know my opinion on it. I don't think it's good. because I do think that the majority of people won't use the money for stuff that they actually should be using it for and should be saving, or, you know, people just seem to increase their expenses when they get this kind of money. But saying that, like, if I could give it to people that specifically would use it in a good way and actually need it, then I'm totally cool with it. So anyways, that's my opinion on all of that. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. I think that's going to wrap this video up. I'd like to thank you very much for watching. You can check out my stock market program in the link below if you want to learn about, you know, how to invest, what to invest in, if you want to learn how to set up your account, which is what a lot of people bought the program for. And the Wealth Accelerator 2 teaches you how to build a business and, you know, pretty much how to build your own small business, work for yourself. That's in the comments down below. So I'd like to thank you very much for watching. You're all very beautiful people, and I'll see you guys in the next video.